Good morning, members. It's 11:08 a.m. and I call this conference committee meeting to order. And before we go to the roll call, pursuant to the OGA, I believe everybody has the agenda. It was passed out in advance. And with that, I'll need a motion to adopt today's agenda. There has been motion, has been seconded, discussion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. With that, um, we have our two alternates present, Representative Marissa Flores and Representative Angelo Camacho, and members, the Vice Chair BJ Attal and Representatives John Paul Sablon. We also have our legal analyst, our senior legislative assistant, Ms. Claire, and Mr. Bonu, and Mr. Cam is here present. And I believe that's it. Our fiscal analyst is also present. And with that, I'll hand it over to Cam to call the roll. Thank you.
Representative Marissa R. Flores.
Present.
Representative Angelo A. Camacho.
Present.
Representative Blas Jonathan T. Attal.
Present.
Representative John Paul P. Sablon.
Present.
Representative Ralph N. Yomo.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, for the House of Representatives, we have 3 members and 2 alternates present.
Thank you, Cam. And with that, I'll now yield to the Senate counterpart. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Yumo. Just to introduce the LB staff that is assisting our committee, we have the legal counsel, Joe Bermudez, our Sergeant at Arms, Ben Terlahi, our legislative assistants, Jolyn Tagawa, and Mr. Macaranas. And that looks like that's all we have right now. Oh, and sorry, our fiscal analyst, Dave Demapon. At this time, I recognize Ms. Tagawa to take roll.
Senator Selena Arbabata, Senator Francisco Q. Cruz.
Here.
Senator Carl R. King Neighbors.
Here.
Senator Karina L. Magunia.
Here.
Senator Donald M. Manguania.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, 3 Senate conferees are present, 1 alternate member is present, and 1 alternate member is absent.
Thank you, Ms. Jolyn. With 3 members of the conference committee members present and 1 alternate, that constitutes a quorum to proceed. Senator Babauta will be joining shortly. With that, I hand the floor back.
Thank you, Senator Maglonia. With that, I move along. The next portion is the public comment. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to make comment with today's agenda? Being there's none, I move on to the adoption of the rules. And with that, let me recognize the Vice Chair to make the motion.
So Chairman, I believe before we make a motion that we have a short recess so that each member gets to review the rules once more before we sign off and adopt it.
Yeah, any objection to that? No objection? Thank you.
Thank
So, short recess. everyone has a copy of the rules. There is some questions. It was all clarified, and I'll recognize the vice chair for the motion to adopt the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members, for making the proper changes for the rules that would govern this deliberation this morning, and hopefully we can finish everything this morning. So, motion to adopt conference committee ground rules in regards to House Concurrent Resolution number 23-2, Senate Substitute 1. So move.
There has been a motion made by the vice chair, has been seconded. All those in favor say aye, or discussion? None? Uh, All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Um, that has been adopted. Short recess and we'll sign it. No go. Thank you, members. And thank you for signing the rules. And moving along to the new business, it's under new business A, House Concurrent Resolution 23-2 SS1, entitled to approve revenues and resources of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands as identified pursuant to Article 3, Section 9A of the Constitution as amended, and 1 CMC Division 7 for fiscal year 2024, beginning October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30, 2024. Obviously, members, there is a big difference between the House and the Senate. And our main objection with the Senate version is the strike through of all the earmarks. So I'll open up the floor for discussion as to where did the funding would go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And so, in the governor's projected resources of 172,564,623, the proposal includes a proposed legislation to increase BGRT taxes in the amount of approximately 9,149,310. In the governor's message, it stated, "I urge members of the legislature to act swiftly on this proposed amendment to the current BGR schedule, as this budget anticipates to realize revenues beginning on the first day of the second quarter of fiscal year 2024. Now, because the Senate have yet to see any legislation to act on this proposed legislation, we felt that the 172 should not include the 9 million that was proposed for the BGRT increase. Therefore, we reduce the projected resources by the 9.1 million increase, which brought it to 163,415,313. And then with that, in order to meet in the middle with the House and to keep your budget allocations according to what the House had initially proposed of available resources of 115,407,265. If we take all the earmarks that was initially proposed and reduce them by 9 million, we came up with roughly 3,416,320 that would be freed up. Therefore, it was agreed that we would take this amount and kind of divvy it up between two activities that we felt is in need of these funds, and that those are the MVA hotel occupancy tax at 2 million and GHLI at 1,416,320. In just giving these two earmarks this specific amount, that would maintain the 115 that is available for allocation that the House had recently passed. And so that's what we agreed upon. We understand that the earmark, the total percentage that is in the statute indicates a much larger amount for MVA and GHLI. We included whereas clauses that indicates that we are going to reduce the proposal of the earmarks and specifically provide an amount, again, that was agreed upon by the Senate members. And so that's the justification that we came up with. And so if I may ask the House, what would be the reason for rejecting this version? Thank you.
I recognize the Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Vice President, for the explanation from the actions of the Senate. And we do respect the actions that the Senate took on the concurrent resolution, as mentioned even in our session before we rejected the Senate version of the concurrent resolution. Because much of the concerns from the House side were the strike-throughs in regards to the earmarks. Take example like CAQ, which is a service rendered payment by the airlines. Those monies don't go into a certain funds. It just pays for services outside of 4:30 into like 7 a.m. and the weekends. The reason why these are concerns to us because we're decreasing the top number of 172, but yet we're maintaining the number of 115. And by removing the earmarks, that would mean that we would have to suspend the earmarks on the budget side. And if we suspend the earmarks on the budget side, that would free up the funds into the general allocation, which would end up changing the 115 to an additional $9.1 million. That's the concern from the House side right off the bat on the cuts from the top number. Because in basic math or basic accounting, there's going to be a cut in the top. Something's going to have to add in the next on the other side. So if we remove the top numbers, we understand that the governor's communication came up with it even reflects in the whereas clause of 9.14310 in BGRT. The BGRT was embedded in the top number. It also is embedded in the bottom number of the 115. So the concern that the budget, to make the budget balance in removing the GRT and not touching these earmarks, it would reduce the ceiling. And if we don't reduce the ceiling and we suspend the earmarks, that 115 number is going to balloon up to 124 because we're going to suspend earmarks. I yield for now.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Well, I think that's the reason why we did not suspend all earmarks completely, and that's the reason why, if you were to add up all the earmarks, it'll sum up to roughly around 12 million. And so we suspended 9 million of that to meet the reduction in the top number. And so it basically comes up to the same amount of the 115 that you're understanding it to be. If I can just recognize our fiscal analyst to further explain that
Yeah,
detail.
let's talk about balancing the budget here. We have an equation in the budget that is given as we speak. If you take a look at the left side of the budget, we're talking about revenue estimates. Look on the right side, we have three variables: earmarks, debt service funds, and the amount to be appropriated. So we have three. So if you add those three variables, it will equal to the left the total amount to be estimated, which is the revenue estimate. So in the case of Vice Chairman or Vice Speaker Ato, I like to put on some numbers to see whether we're balancing the budget. What the Senate did is that out of the $172.5 million, which is the government embedded, the 9.1 million, to balance the equation from the Senate side, we had to do this exercise. We have to take away 9.1 on the left side. Now, if you're taking away something on the left side, right, you have to take something from the right. So what do we do with the right side? We apply 9.1 out of the 12.some million dollars of total earmarks. And that earmark will go down to approximately 3.4 million. So if you have 3.4, 44 for debt service, approximately 115 for appropriation, will equivalent to approximately 115.4. And that's what happened there. I'm sorry, 163 million. And that's what happened there. Now, let's take the example of Vice Chairman Atal. I cannot see that the equation will be balanced if we put in the numbers. So let me ask Senator Congressman Atal, and we'll put in the numbers on the equation and see whether we balance the budget. How much you're planning to take out from the left or from the right?
We can't take out the numbers right now.
No,
because-
on
No,
the,
but
on
you
the
gotta
one that you just
understand.
stated earlier. We want to be specific here.
Yeah, we got to understand that the GRT is embedded in the 172. The GRT is embedded in the 115. So in order to balance the 115 and the 172, we have to take away from both sides.
Sir, excuse me, the 115, the 9.1 is not embedded in 115. It's already netted out because we subtracted everything from the top, from the earmarks, the debt service, then gets us down to the 115. So the 115 does not include the 9.1. It's already taken out from the bottom, from the top down.
You're right, Mr. Demapan. The problem is we're taking out these monies that are already dedicated to a certain area, right? So what essentially we're doing when we strike them through is we're suspending it, correct?
Exactly.
So once we suspend it and you get to the budget portion, you're going to add it to the list of suspensions. And when you add it to the list of suspensions, you're actually increasing by $9.1 million
So
because our net number is 115. When we suspend it in the budget, it's
Sir.
going to add up an additional $9.1 million.
So excuse me, if we're suspending back the earmarks that we have reserved, will get us back to the level that we originally started, the 172.4. If you put it back onto reservation, it will go down by that amount. Now, if you want to suspend it, as you're saying, it's going to go back to the level that the governor submitted to us, the 172.5 million. It cannot go further than that once we suspend those earmarks that are already reserved by the governor. So that the number cannot go up. Now, what I'm trying to apply here is, let's take a look at the equation. The equation here is very simple. Revenue estimates is equal to earmarks plus debt service plus the amount to be appropriated. Now let's put in the numbers that you identified earlier, because I have already put in the numbers and everything balanced from left to right. Now let's put in the numbers that we suspended. How much of the earmarks you want to put down on the right, on the left?
If you take the numbers of $9.1 million that
Okay.
have been suspended, no?
Okay.
Okay, so now you're gonna move forward to the budget. Our cap right now is at 115.
Right.
You put the list of suspended earmark, or you're suspending the earmarks that was actually going to its original intended purpose, right? By statute, we suspend those earmarks. You go to the listing of additional suspended earmarks. So the version's going to come with the underline of adding these suspended earmarks to the tune of $9.1 million. Our bottom line number is 115. So essentially, what we're doing is that 9.1 million plus dollars is going to be funneled into the general fund. So you're increasing the 115 number by 9.115. So essentially, we're both in the crossroads here. It's either the House version is $9.1 million over allocated to the tune of 115 from 106, or the Senate's version will be essentially 124 over the 115. We understand that we both want to get to the 115. That's our
Sure.
target number.
So in our review, right? In our review, the number is exactly correct, 115.4. If we take out the 9.1 from the left side, for example, and we take out the 9.1 that we suspended from the right side, the equation remains the same. So there's no change in the equation. The equation will be balanced. So I don't understand.
I understand where you're
how-
coming from,
How
but
the equation will be out of balance when we're evenly subtracting and adding the same numbers.
we're
Chair,
not.
sorry,
We're-
it seems like we're going around in circles. If I can just briefly acknowledge the council, Council Bermudez.
I think at this point, we shouldn't be talking about numbers and earmarks and the equation because we need to resolve one issue before we even move forward. The Senate removed the 9.1, which the governor proposed as anticipated revenue based on a BGR increase. So the first question that we must answer, should we move forward by removing the 9.1, which is not even law, we can anticipate it in the future? And that's the first question. We must resolve that first. Then we move to the earmarks and the exercise of where to put the money. But that's the answer that must be answered. And the Senate has positioned that we have to remove the 9.1 from the top and start with the number 163,415,313 based on the one of the whereas clause in the concurrent resolution that the Senate inserted. And in support of that provision that it's unconstitutional, I have this, I just drafted this yesterday and I issued it this morning. And I gave one to your council and I'll provide copies to the members of the conference committee. But we must address that first.
All right, short recess. Thank you to the viewing public for their patience. The House and the Senate has some disagreements, and therefore would have to recess to tomorrow at 10 a.m. Any discussions? Ready? So with that, we will recess to 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.